Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Grab your coffee, your tea, a blanket, some pillows. Welcome to a writing Q&A where I yap your ears off about my project and writing in general, so let's get into it. My beverage of choice today is a matcha. After I switched to matcha, if I drink coffee now, it gives me a little bit of a headache just because of how high the caffeine shoots up at once. But I love every single intake of caffeine, so thank you to anyone who sent me in questions. This video would not be possible without you guys. For all the new people out there, let me give you a quick rundown of my book. I will be referencing it a few times, so I want you guys to also get the reference. I'm currently writing an adult witchy romantasy titled Bewitched. This is the mood board for vibes and locations, and then this is the mood board for all the fashion in this world. I'm currently attending fashion school, so this mood board features some of my favorite runway looks. The jewelry in this book plays a huge role in the magic system, which is why this mood board is very much important. That is a quick rundown, and my name is Nisha, and I'm currently making writing vlogs on this channel. So yeah, let's jump into the video. The first question is, when do you plan on querying, and how do you think you'll manage your day job along with writing when you get a traditional publisher? Please keep us updated on your publishing journey. I was planning to start querying this spring. I'm not off track with that goal. I'm exactly where I plan to be, and I'm just currently finishing up my first draft of this book. That being said, I don't know how long the revision and editing process is going to take because I've never sat down to revise or edit a full-length novel. I'm gauging that it's going to take longer than I anticipate, which is why I don't know if spring is the right time for me to query. But I've also done a lot of research on querying times, like when should you query, and there seems to be no good time. My idea is I'm probably going to query in small batches, so maybe like 5 to 10 agents at a time. That will probably take a while just because I'm querying in smaller chunks, but I am predicting to query in 2025. And the second question is, how do you think you'll manage your day job along with writing when you get a traditional publisher? So a quick life update, if you guys missed my last writing vlog video, is I recently got a part-time job as an English teacher at this academy, which is super cool because I'm only 20. It's a part-time job, so I only go in on Saturday, Sunday, and I'm not reliant on this job in any way. Taking this job in my mind was a strategic decision to have something in the realm of literature on my resume, just in case I want to have it as like an extra little tidbit when I query, because when you query, you have to put an author bio. And I'm also planning to get a master's. Don't know if it's still gonna be in the realm of business, which I'm currently doing fashion marketing, so it's very much like business centered. For my master's, I'm still kind of like weighing my options between something in the realm of literature or maybe econ. Two different options, but I do think that this job would be good to put on my resume either way, which is the main reason why I took it. If I did end up getting a traditional publisher, I don't think by then I would still be in this job. Not because it's bad, I actually really enjoy it, but writing on my own creative projects is going to be a priority for me. Obviously, a lot of things can change. This is just what I'm thinking right now, early 2025. Second question is, what important advice would you give to a first-time writer? I have one piece of advice that I think is kind of unique because I don't want to be too repetitive. So my advice is, I think you should keep a commonplace book. I know this could feel a little unrelated to the realm of novel writing, and obviously there are so many different ways to journal. You can keep a diary, you can do scrapbooking, or you can keep a commonplace book, which I do all three of those things, but I think this might be my favorite. Basically, I write poems and thoughts in here. I did my homework in here too. So yeah, I write a lot of things in here. It's not that we're completely useless, but sometimes there are some gems in here. And I think it's really fun because at the time I could be feeling those things, and using that same line to put into my book really helps me connect to my characters. I'll give you an example of some of the things I've stolen in here. Whomever is next to you is so lucky to be loved by you. People tiptoe around me like I have shattered glass pieces at my feet, and they're all a little too possessive. I also stole this to put into my book. I catch myself repeating your name too often in conversations. Like even the syllables defining you are a constant prayer. There are many more in here that I've taken. Keeping a book like this, every time I flip through it, it's kind of like I'm scavenging through the crevices of my brain. Really recommend keeping a commonplace book. It could really help you get inspired. The whole Bewitched world was created within these pages. Like I literally brainstormed in here before it ever made it onto any Google Doc. Next question is, how do you get out of writer's block? The thing is, every time I get writer's block, I know it's because I'm unorganized. And I don't know if like every writer is going to relate to this, but this is usually what puts me in a slump. I'm not a planner per se, but when it comes to a fantasy book, which is what I'm writing, I love having a good plan only because there are so many elements to a fantasy book. Not having a plan would drive me crazy. I have one Google Doc that is just chapters and like bullet points of what happens in those chapters. Usually when I'm in a slump, I will set out 1 hour of my writing time to just clean up my plan and make sure that my draft and my plan aligns with one another. I'm not a completely strict planner. So if I write and I want to pants, I will pants. But that kind of makes me a little disorganized, which is why I set out some time to fix my plan and make sure that both of these documents align. Usually when I finish cleaning up my plan, I am able to get a better glimpse of my book overall, and it usually gets me out of a slump. I don't know, like I don't feel as stuck in a chapter as I used to. I know if this works for everyone, but that's how I personally get out of a writing slump. How do you write different characters that have different voices, experiences, and moods? I think a lot of writers do this, but I take a lot of inspiration from the people I know, which is why it's so scary being close or dating an artist, because you most likely will be turned into art. I've based most of my characters on people I know, and usually I also take parts of myself and put them into these characters. I'm not sure if this makes any sense. I've been doing this ever since I've been storytelling, and it's not always super obvious. Like, I have a side character that I really love. Her name is Dayu, and she's like this super feisty, kind of rude, she doesn't trust anyone kind of character, and I feel like I've taken a part of myself that maybe I don't show too often, because maybe if I'm so straightforward like that, people would think I'm rude, you know what I mean? And I love her so much. Like, she's such a cool character, and any chance I get, I will put her in a scene because I love writing her. And as for my villains, I kind of just take personality traits I hate in people, and then I embed them into these characters. Also, I think something really good to do is to add like small details or quirks to each of your characters. I think Donna Tartt does this in The Secret History. She based those characters off of real people that she met in college, and I think one guy had a chip in his tooth, which her character also had a chip in his tooth. So yeah, go all out, base characters on people you know. I think it makes them more real, and you'll find yourself like actually loving or hating your characters because they're based on things that you've experienced. I think a really good author who does different characters really well is Amber V. Nicole. I've talked about this book series for like months now, but it is the Gods and Monsters series, and she makes like literally every single character so complex and so deep, and I've never felt so emotionally connected to a character like I did in this book series. She has like a ton of characters and I love all of them, so I think she writes characters super well. Do you have any bookish content creators you look up to? Oh my god, yes I do. I love watching BookTube and AuthorTube. These are some of my favorite bookish or AuthorTube content creators. I'll put them up on the screen. Are there any genres that you would like to write in someday? Yes, probably contemporary romance. I used to write a lot of murder mysteries when I was younger. I'm not really in that realm anymore, reading or writing wise, so I don't think I'll be writing any thrillers anytime soon, but I love a good contemporary romance, and that is what I wrote for a while. There's one contemporary romance that I started writing when I was 16, and I keep coming back to that project, and one day maybe I will finish it and publish it since it has been in my life for so long. I also got a question on how I started my own business. I could make a whole long video about this. I'm currently running a swimwear slash loungewear clothing business. Our social media and our website are just all morning after bikinis. Honestly, I just really wanted a cute bikini, and there were none in Thailand. Like, I truly could not find any. So I was like, you know what? I'll just make it myself. So I sketched a design up, and then I got all the pieces manufactured. I wore like the original sample piece to Samui with my friends, and then I kind of just did the whole process myself. I had my parents' advice, which they're both business owners themselves, and funding, so I wouldn't have been able to start this without them. After I got my pieces in bulk, I hired a model, rented out a studio, and had a photo shoot. And then I made my website, which I've never made a website before, so this was hard for me. Now it's up and running. I'm so proud of it, and this summer we are launching again. So if you guys want to, you guys can go follow Morning After Bikinis on Instagram. My question so far is, how do you take small bullet point ideas and flesh them out into a full-blown story or novel? The first draft of Bewitched, it was literally only a poem. Like, it was this poem, and then I started fleshing out. I literally wrote an arrow down from my poem, and I said, wait, okay, I have an idea for this fantasy novel. So there's a cursed forest, and if anyone goes in, they find this person. I don't know if it should be the FMC or the MMC. Anyways, if they something. Bewitched, as it stands right now, is so far from this brainstorming idea, but I literally bullet pointed out like pages and pages of this book until it was a story. So I'd recommend brainstorming on paper until you get a solid story, and then move it digitally. That would be my recommendation, to kind of brainstorm a full idea. And don't limit yourself. I feel like, especially if you're writing fantasy, anything can happen because it is your world. I think there's like a writing exercise where you write 5 different beginnings or something. That's really interesting. I've never done that, but I think it could really help flesh your ideas out to be more and more outrageous or creative. Hi Nacha, I really love your writing vlogs. I'm wondering, what do you struggle with the most when it comes to writing, and what are you best at? I think that what I struggle with the most is not finishing scenes. I tend to write whatever I want whenever I want, which is not a good thing per se. Sometimes I'll write like the peak of the scene or half the scene, and then I will will feel like I don't want to write it anymore, so I'll jump to a different section of my book. I have a lot of unfinished chapters right now. I have like this weird trust in myself that I will come back and finish it. Like one day I will get the urge to write the rest of it and it will be amazing. And that has happened before. So it's true that that happens, but I just feel like this method of writing makes me so unorganized. I found that I really like drafting like that, which I feel like could be a problem in the long run. I haven't faced a real problem with this technique yet, but I will keep you posted if it works or not. This also means that I don't write in chronological order, which I don't know if that's weird. Tell me in the comments below if you write in chronological order. So I'm just like skipping from like beginning, middle, and end, but in my brain, my story is like very organized, which is the main reason why I have a plan, right? But anyways, I'm terrified it will kick me in the ass. I don't know yet. Next question is, what are you best at? I think that I'm best at writing internal monologue. There's a lot of internal monologue, which I don't know if that's a good thing. A question I have is, how do you develop your magic system or fantasy world building? So this is the first ever fantasy book that I've written, which was terrifying at the start, but it really got better. For my drafting process, I went in knowing like the very basics of my fantasy world, and I kind of learned it along with the characters. So as I was drafting and I was creating these details, I had like a separate document where I would write down all of the details that go into the world building so I don't forget. I also recommend having a map. The area in my world is small compared to other fantasy books. I feel like the size of it is like kind of similar to the first ACOTAR book. I like the magic system as well. Like this book is not high fantasy, so it was much easier for me to control, especially with it being my first ever fantasy book. I'm gonna go turn on the lights right now. It's like 6 p.m. so the sun is down. I don't know if that's better, but the sun is like literally gone. Next question is, how do you deal with not letting yourself get overwhelmed by building vital parts of your world? I think this all boils back down to the planning process, which I don't like talking about it too much because I know a lot of people don't like planning. And I really do think that some of the best novels come from pantsing. Everything that I've said in this video is obviously just based on my experience, which doesn't work for every person. When I was writing the first 30% of this book, I had like the most vital parts of the world built out, but I didn't have the details. So I literally was planning as I was going. But I think once I got to the 50% mark, I kind of like sat myself down. I was like, okay, I need to get this sorted. So I opened up a new planning sheet and I started writing like everything that I wanted in this world down. I think writing it all down in one place really helped me not be overwhelmed by the amount of like world building. I like seeing the bird's eye view of everything, if that makes any sense. The last question is, how do you put your image from your head onto paper with clear actions? Also, it's very difficult to find the right words. Trying to describe what the scenario is with words and finding the best word by not repeating is extremely hard. So with trying to like place the image from my head onto paper, I took film classes during high school. I literally wanted to be a filmmaker. So in my head, I feel like when I'm thinking of stories, I kind of imagine them like a movie. Obviously, that is not like an everyday writing experience for me. Like sometimes I literally will not be able to think. But if I'm super excited about a scene, I feel like it's really easy for me to imagine it like a movie and then I kind of describe it on paper with words. If you want to, I think a fun thing to do would be to storyboard. Like if you're imagining it like a movie, maybe you can draw like little storyboards. I'll put some up here. These are some of my storyboards I've drawn for films. You can kind of like emulate that, and then as you're writing, you can reference the storyboard that you draw. It'll kind of be like you're watching a movie and you're describing it. And as for repeating words, I think we all have words that we overuse. And in this case, thesaurus is truly my best friend. Another tip is that your words don't have to be perfect in the first draft. So if you think that that word is overused or not correct yet, you can write it down first as like an idea of like, okay, I want a word similar to this. And then during your revision process, you can go through and then change the words that you think you've overused. I think that going back and revising is a more efficient process when writing because it won't halt your drafting process and you won't stop every 2 seconds to try and find a synonym. Okay guys, that's all the questions I have today. The sun is literally down and my throat is dying. If you made it to the end, comment down below a thinking emoji. And thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.